All right, everybody, welcome to the Putting in the Work podcast. Yeah, I'm probably already people like, oh, really? You're going to use child labor in the back? It's cute. Whatever. Those guys are all adults and dead, so it's fine. But with me is this week is a comedian Brandon Smith, and what this podcast is going to be is two comics who have ideas they're working on and want maybe turn into a joke, but have not yet. Kind of throw it back and forth at each other and put in the work to maybe turn it into a joke. Instead of going to an open mic, you can do that with the information afterwards as well, but kind of just fleshing something out to see if there's something there. But I think the rule I'm going to put on this podcast is once I start with the story I'm going to tell and Brandon starts with the thing he's going to tell, we can't just go, oh, that sucks and bail. Yes, after the podcast, you can never talk about it again. But once we commit to the thing, that's going to be the hard part. Sometimes we'll say something and go, oh, that's not funny when I say it out loud. Well, that's the whole point. We're going to try to flesh it out and make it funny. So we can't give up on the thing. You can't be like, oh, I have a second thing. We'll do that second thing the next time you're on. That's what I'm going to do with this podcast. So Brandon, first of all, how are you?
Lovely. How are you doing?
I'm good. I kind of know information, but I'll still say it. You do seem more alert.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't really been smoking the old, marijuana or whatever you
How
call
long has it been?
I stopped on 420 was the last time, and everyone's like, oh, would you pick that day? I'm like, no, it's when I ran out of weed. So
was it because you were celebrating so hard you ran out? Is that what it was?
Yeah, no, I had like keef left, and I was just like putting it in because I used to smoke a lot of blunts, but then I changed over to organic tobacco, more like, I guess, cigarette tobacco. So I still smoke that a little bit, but I just cut the weed out for about a month. And then Thursday I was hiking with a friend and I was going to do it after a month. So I smoked Thursday, and I was higher than I've ever been. So I reset my tolerance. And I think I realized what it is as a true medicine. And I'm not like here to judge anybody. I tell people I had to smoke as much as I did up until I did, or else I wouldn't have done it wrong. Like I had to do it and go through it and get to where I was. And now that I'm there, I think I'm gonna use it more like a medicine in certain capacities. If I'm with somebody, like I was with somebody who's kind of like me, she's like a witch and I'm like a wizard. So we were talking about like tarot and all these silly ideas. So it just put us on this other level, but I could see where I don't need that every day now, so that's Thursday I smoked it, and that was it.
Nice. And you said you got high?
Oh, I was so high because my tolerance was shot. I was just like to the fucking moon. And then I ate I didn't eat a ton after, but I was really hungry. So I ate, and then I ate a little more, but I don't eat as much as I used to now. So it was like a normal amount for a regular person, I guess. But yeah.
I'm trying to ignore something you said, and I think you know what I'm trying to ignore, but I cannot.
That I'm a wizard?
Not just that part of the whole phrase, because I don't think I've been podcasting on and off with you and other people. What is it, 7-8 years?
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever heard the phrase, I'm a wizard and she's a witch ever said to me without somebody's like cosplaying. They're a witch?
Well, I think in the old sense of what it was, I think witches were just herbalists and people that helped other people heal. Some maybe have been like evil or whatever, but I think that's more of what it was. And then when the new people came in that had like medications to sell you, those people were demonized because there's a lot of ways you can heal without the system or whatever. And that's what we were talking about, actually. So yeah.
Is that what wizards and witches are supposed to be? And then like in storyline, they've become like magic power people, but in reality, they're just like old time doctors and mages.
Well, I think, yeah, that's part of it. And I think the wizard role, like if you think of Gandalf, that's a really good role because he inspired people. He never really did anything
just
himself.
Midgets, though.
Yeah, exactly.
And handsome men.
Yeah, and really handsome men.
Yeah, there's no in between. It's either you're a fucking ugly ass midget or you are godlike.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was the role.
You're Aragorn, son of Aragorn, or Foot.
Yeah,
that's your two levels.
Or some kind of dwarf, right? Another ugly short person.
Gimli.
Or Boromir, who was another handsome fucking, even though Sean Bean, but yeah, definitely.
He really put the boar in Boromir. That's
exactly.
Right, so, but that just, and so a witch would just be the same thing, but it's female, but there is a gen. Now, do people get upset? Do feminists get upset? Is there witches that think, why can't I be a wizard? Has that world crept together?
I think feminists just exist to be offended. So I'm sure they're offended.
Right, but I'm wondering if they go after that. Because that is a white people thing. Are there black wizards?
Oh yeah, look at Spike Lee. He's probably a black wizard, I would say. See, so the thing with magic is,
wait, how is Spike Lee a black wizard?
So there's two types of magic, right? You have the magic like stage magic and the poof and all that stuff, but then there's the esoteric meaning of magic when you hear like Freemasons and stuff like that. And really the magic is just about creation, and it's the way you can create in your life when you just set an intention on something. So a lot of this stuff crosses over when people don't, if they don't understand it or whatever, they get kind of lost. But you can write a spell or you can write something down. It's just something you want to do. Like say you want to get a job and you're like, iPad Oates, I want to do this stuff, and you write it all down, and then you just like you fold it up and you burn it, and you have this intention, and it just means that you put it out there into the universe, and in that way it's considered magic. So I think with the movies they play with that a lot, but if you understand what they mean, there's a lot of symbolism behind it, is really what I mean. So I think that you could have male wizards and female, and the reason I say Spike Lee, it's just because if you look at what his movies portrayed and what they're talking about, maybe Spike Lee's a bad example, but there's certainly people like, say people at the top of like Hollywood or like, Disney, right? That's a good example. They give you this idea of what life should be and all these silly things. And I think that sometimes they could steer people a little wrong. And that would be the wizardry, right? So there's like black magic instead of white magic.
And then I guess my last question, then we'll get into the podcast, is I would assume, now because this is Hollywood again telling me this, wizards, I'm not saying they all are handsome, but they all have an attractiveness in some way. Like you could mess up Gandalf and Sauron and all the ones you want to. I'm not talking about grand wizards, not David Duke. I'm talking about fucking TV wizards, not clan wizards, by the way. They all have a handsomeness to them. Witches are usually gross.
Yeah.
Is that true in the world that you live in? Are like, I'm not saying to say your friend is gross, but I'm saying, do women that aren't really attractive seem to go with, well, I'm a witch, because that's like makes them interesting? Because I know some women that use that whole, I'm Wiccan stuff, and it's like they're not ugly, but it definitely gives them a personality that they wouldn't need if they were more attractive. So like, but like a guy can say, I'm a wizard. And they're like, whatever, you're handsome. If you're an ugly guy and you're being a wizard, you mean Dungeons and Dragons. Like you don't mean what you're talking about. It seems like the handsome goes there. Even like Snape has maybe mysterious. I'm going for more than handsome, but the women don't seem mysterious in real life. Is it usually I'm ugly, so therefore this is my thing?
Yeah. I think you kind of nailed it on the head. I think hot, attractive women, most of them don't really need to do anything at all.
Yeah. That's their power. That's their move.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have seen some attractive women that are into this stuff, but yeah, I think you're right about that.
Now there's crazy play into it.
It could, because again, it's not like there's not just one definition and one thing that everybody believes. So there's a lot of people who practice certain things, and some of them are crazy, but I was just having this conversation with a friend, and I think crazy could help people in some regard, because I really believe the way this whole universe works is it's based a lot on belief. That's why like people in believe, like when they're crazy, like Kanye West, he's like, I'm going to be famous, but he was just crazy and he believed it. So he just became famous because nobody could stop him. No one can convince him that he was a piece of shit or whatever. And most people have this feeling that they're a piece of shit. That's why they don't get to the next level. It's like self-sabotaging. So I think a little bit of crazy sometimes could help in that regard.
Yeah, but I think sometimes we take an insane drive and call that crazy because we're taught to not be that selfish, but we're also taught to aim for anything. And it's just like, which one you want me to be? The greatest at all their job, the greatest CEO, the greatest athlete, the greatest musician, Kanye West. You have to be a selfish prick, and you have to have a belief that is insane. You have to have what it's almost that almost is delusional until proven not so. So I don't think that's crazy. But for someone to be like, just literally, I might stab you because the voices say so, they're not going to write an album about it. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. I think sometimes some people turn to the witchcraft and the ghost hunting because they're like, well, that way, if I kill people, I've been telling you I was gonna.
Yeah, I definitely think that exists for sure. That was hilarious.
Well, I didn't mean
I
to
try
have
to
that
stay
new
away
bit,
from
but I
those
think we
people.
might both have a new bit on witchcraft,
Yeah, I know, right?
where you just watch three lumpy women get up and leave the club.
Exactly.
Well, you've walked me. You'll get your broomstick, and we'll see you later.
And then
Bye,
you go home and turn
Broomhilda
into a
and the
cat.
bunch. Broomhilda and the
Yeah.
bunch is my new rap group, by the way. So, do you have something you're working on?
Yeah, well, I have a story that happened in something happened to my mother, and it's just a crazy story. And I think I've told it a bunch of times, but I'd like to translate it into something I could say on stage or to use in a bit, because we know just telling a story sometimes isn't going to work. So, um, basically, what happened was my mother got a hit put out on her. Did I ever tell you this story?
No.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
By the way, so people know your mother is one of the sweet. Yes, your mother has a backbone, and your mother, I definitely could see telling somebody off. But at the
Yeah.
same time, your mother is one of the biggest hearts in the goddamn world. It is a sweetheart.
Yeah, she definitely is. And she has no fear when it comes to things. That's really what I think it is. And so the story goes, so basically my family was really adjacent to that, the biker gang that has to do, if you die and you don't go to heaven, you go to that place. Well, my family was adjacent with those angels motorcycles.
I was wondering why you weren't saying word, and now I got it.
Yeah. So this is like, this is so long ago, like in the 70s probably. So whatever. But my uncle, who's now passed away, he died when I was young in a car accident. He was a giant man, like I'm tall and my brother's kind of big. He was like tall and just a giant. So I'm pretty sure he hung out with them a lot. So they had that connection, right? And my mom used to work at this bar during the day, and it was close to Milford Center. So if you're not familiar, it's like the courthouse isn't too far away. There's like police and stuff, whatever. So she worked at this bar, and it was probably kind of like a dive bar restaurant, whatever. People would go there to party. But during the day, like on a Tuesday, there was this guy in there, and he was just had all this cocaine out, and he was just doing all this cocaine. And this guy, I guess his dad was some sort of local like mafia boss or whatever, so he basically just thought he could do whatever he wanted. So the way the story goes, because I wasn't there, my mom kept telling him to put it away, and he wouldn't. So she took like a pitcher of beer and just dumped it all over it. So I'm pretty sure that he was probably afraid of my mom at that point. So he didn't do anything himself. And you know how people like that are, we always know people who say, oh, I know people. It's like, because they want you to be scared of them, and because they're not intimidating. Right.
And it's the best thing to say when you're embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly. So he didn't say anything, I guess, or whatever. I'm not sure. He might have tried to cuss her out, but later, my uncle was hanging out with all these guys that I was talking about, the biker guys. And so those biker guys were allegedly the ones that would do the dirty work for the mafia in the area, right? So they get this thing across the wire. I don't know how it worked back then, like and it was a hit.
How long ago was this?
What's that?
How long ago was this?
It was in the 70s, probably like mid 70s. Yeah. So the hit came across, and they basically laughed about it and squashed it, and they called the head guy over at the crime industry, and they told him the story, and then it just kind of got squashed. But I think it's just a really unique story. Obviously, like who else has a mom that had a hit on them, and then she survived it, you know what I mean? So
no, definitely there's something there. Obviously, they're in a storyline. When a lot of comics try to tell a story, the reason why they lose confidence in it is because a great story, the arc is the middle. It doesn't have to it's not a movie. So therefore, when you tell a story to the stories, and you're like, hey, Uncle Bob, tell that story about that time you went to Tijuana. When Uncle Bob tells that story, it starts off with, hey, we traveled, whatever. Then that middle part happens where the donkeys are involved and the hookers, and it used to be a fella. Now it's not a fella. It might be a fella. All that kind of shit's in there. And then it ends with what? And then we left. We were embarrassed. We went to the hospital. We drove home, whatever it ends in. And it ends on a down note. In a joke or a story that's being presented as a joke on stage, you need to flip it. So the build at the beginning brings you to this high thing, and you end on that. You can't come down. So that's the hardest thing, because you have to literally take realism. You want to keep what's real and good, but you also want to fabricate to make that work better. And it's hard for some people because they're like, well, that's not what happened. Okay, that's great. But that story's not going to work with everybody because if it did, your Uncle Bob would be Chris Rock. You know what I mean? Like that's the whole fucking, people don't get that. Like when you like, you think like, well, my aunt's a great storyteller. Great, but your aunt's not on tour. That's why, because she can't tell a story to people that don't know her. So it's like, that's what you have to do with that. Now, if the beginning, that story you were telling me, now to me, you gave me all the details I need as a resident of Connecticut that knows the area. If you're telling, you're on stage, they get lost at the Milford. And yes, you wouldn't have done that there. But I'm saying when you're picking apart a story in your head, you have to start going right away. What don't I need? And you want to pull those things out. So the first thing, when you're going into that, you want to set that it's the set. Now, I loved at the very beginning when you wouldn't say Hell's Angels. I think that's a key to the beginning to get, not only get people to laugh, but to show them your creativity. Because it's a funny thing. Like whenever you hear like a comic, it's usually hacky now. And they're like, I don't want to name the airline. Let's just call them Smelta Airline. Like shit like that. And you know what it is. You know what I mean? Like John Mulaney does it great. He just goes, I don't want to name them. Let's just call them Delta Airline. He literally says it, which I think is funny. But like, I like when someone does that, but you're doing it because you're telling us about a hit. So therefore, yes, we're supposed to believe that you're afraid. So you don't want to say their name and get in trouble like a Voldemort or a fucking Beetlejuice. You don't want to fucking say the name. So if you were like, I don't want to name the gang affiliation, but let's just call them Satan's Cupids or like Beelzebub's cherubs or whatever the fuck you would say, where someone goes, well, oh, okay. Hex flying midgets, whatever the fucking thing you would say that they would get the wink, wink, nudge, nudge and give it to them. But I think the key to that story is the build. I think the key is your mom walking into a place she shouldn't be. And it's like, think of your mom walking into think of the worst bar you've ever thought of. And then think if Bar Rescue went in and did the opposite job and ruined it more. That's this place. And then walk in and it's like, it's not Al Pacino, but it's his little friend. That's who's sitting at the table. It's like, you never saw the little friend. And there he is. And he's got a comedic pile of cocaine. You got to build up whatever you can build it into, like
just like
a mountain. Yeah, whatever description would you name it? You're a hiker. Name the mountains. It's like I've hiked several mountains, and I, with a team and a donkey, couldn't climb this cocaine. Like you got to get there to get to that point. You know what I'm saying so far?
Yeah, no, definitely. I hear you. I love it.
I mean, because you're good at telling a story and keeping people's focus. But I think you've got to, in a story like that, I need to be able to, I'm looking at you. When you tell a good story as a comic, the crowd is looking at you, but they're not seeing you. They're seeing the movie you're portraying in their head. That's like the key to it. A lot of comics are worried about the wacky shirt or how they're moving. When you're telling a story, like the great comedy storytellers, you'd see your version of what they're saying, and you hope it's close to what I want you to see, but you want them to see that. So the visualization, the colorful words that you use, but without losing the fact that it's a joke, keeping humor as the describers as well, so they laugh but not going nuts. But you're building. So we get to this point where now we have to make him scary. We have to make the thing real. We have to make it so. You can't just think your mom is just badass and dumped a beer and then like there's a hit and then whatever. The hit, once that happened, the beer, that could be great, whatever. Your mom's like, that's terrible. Maybe she could be with friends. Maybe she could be alone. Maybe there's a story that builds in before that. Like maybe it starts off, I know it's the 70s, but it doesn't have to be. Like if I was doing it, I'd kind of make it present day in a way. Or you can make it a little earlier. You can involve your dad or you or whatever. But maybe have something where like you're at home or your dad's at home, he's eating and he's making a mess all over the table, and your mom's, or he's got papers all over the place, and your mom's like, get the papers off the table. People eat on that table. And she's saying something, he's like, whatever. What are you going to do about it? And she just comes over with like a bucket of water, dumps it on. So there's a precedent to her doing this. So when she goes in and she's like, people eat on that. This is a restaurant, sir. That's cocaine where people have spaghetti. He's like, don't tell me what to do. You know who I am? Like, yeah, a sloppy man. Or something. I know you're a mess and probably single. And it's just like, well, what are you going to do about it? She just grabs his beer, dumps it on the table, knocks away his cocaine. And you're like, because that's her shit. So you're like, oh shit, you've now put a seed in that she does something like this. She's like, she means well, but you're like, my mom was the first Karen. You know what I mean?
like don't you know who I am? What? Like her saying that to him, like, don't you know who I am? When he's like, don't you know who I am? She's like, don't you know who I am? Like,
yeah, someone who obviously doesn't know who I am. He's like, I am, like a 10-year whatever title you do research to find out like titles of like in biker gangs, like I'm this deputy buttfuck, whatever titles they use. She's like, you know what I am? I've been on the chair for the Rotary or the Women's Guild for 4 years. And I was student body president. Dumps the beer, like whatever the fuck it is, and throws the beer and knocks over the thing. And then putting the hit on. I don't know if your mom should be scared if you guys went into hiding, but something's got to happen where it's like somebody's afraid. Maybe you guys are and she isn't. Maybe she's using it. Maybe she tells people. Maybe she's at like at the school raffle. When some woman's like, well, I guess your cheesecake's not going to win best cheesecake at the cake fair this year. It's like, well, no, I wouldn't mess with someone who's got a hit on them. Or she's constantly throwing it out there all the time.
Yeah. Have you had a hit on you for the mafia? No, I don't think so. Something like that. Yeah. I also think that maybe tying in, because John Wick is like so huge right now, maybe something having that to do with the punchline, like, like they killed her puppy and now she's still killing them. Like she's been killing 30 years. She's just been like killing mafia bosses or like dumping water on their head or something.
To do that though, then you not only have to plant that seed, you have to paint enough of a picture so people that don't know John Wick get it. Because there are going to be people that don't. But without doing it so hard that people that do know John Wick and already get it are like, all right, you're laying on, do that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And without just going, and unless you literally just go like, well, like my mom's like John Wick now. She's like,
Mom Wick.
Yeah, or been avenged or something. Like, I don't know how you would do it, but like she's been avenging, but she's not. What is she avenge? It was like so she wasn't. Her dog wasn't killed. I mean, nothing happened to her. She just threw the beer. So I'm trying to think.
Well, I could say something like they squashed the hit on her, but something had to be done, so they killed her dog or something like that, and now she's been fucking, dumping beer on, I don't know, mafia cocaine people like for 30 years.
Right, but like they killed his dog and that started him killing. So like it wouldn't, if you're gonna go Wick, you know what I mean? Like killing the dog is what set him back and brought him back out. His wife dying was like, whatever, I'm sad. My dog's dead. I'm gonna fucking kill everybody.
I know. I'm just gonna kill all these people that, trying to work a job at a door,
Yeah. Liquizamo's there. It's weird. It's like, he's just like, you work on cars, Liquizamo, what happened? Like, you were the fly. Like, you did what you were doing well. Not the fly, not the Goldblum fly, that other fly.
The fly.
What fly? He was something fly.
Yes, I think
the pest.
Oh, the pest. Yeah, that's
right.
Well,
not the fly. It was something fucking weird. But yeah, it definitely needs. You could either go that route where you just build it up so it's like this Kill Bill-esque scenario, or you tell the story and then just, because there's got to be, something's got to end. It can be as simple as you tell the story and it's like, yeah, obviously my mom's still alive. I would have not told this story if the mob or the Hells Angels raped and pillaged my mother. Okay, it's a comedy show. It's like, yes, and that's when my mother was fucked by 14 people and hung up on a skewer. Good night, everybody. Like, that's not how you would tell this story. But they obviously let it go. They said to the guy, "What the fuck? Some white lady threw beer. Maybe not do cocaine over the table, then throw our names to. I know we're the hell angels, but we're not here to fucking help you with everything, dude. Like what the fuck?" But man, it's given my mom a license to fucking stop people. She puts out more fucking messes on a table than fucking Smokey puts out forest fire. Like literally, she goes around like anywhere we are. My mother can walk up to you, and if you are a kid drawn with crayons and that gets a little bit on the wall, Kool-Aid. Like it's like you start like maybe go into that way. It's like my mother is the master of beverage bukkake. Like every time someone is there, boom, she's hitting people with drinks. So maybe you're not loving the show tonight, and that's fine. But I want you to know, sir, there's a lot of shit on your table, and my mom's in the back.
Better watch out.
Yeah, or maybe go that because it might not be you could go with a punchline and go crazy, or just go with the idea or that, or like, or pushing in the fact that does it lead to something else? Does that whole thing lead up to another time that maybe your mom intervened and kids knew? Maybe that was the thing. Maybe after, yes, the mom didn't take her out, but man, did that get me into and out of a lot of fights. Because everyone's like, "Hey, Brandon, my dad could beat up your dad." Said, "Yeah, but my mom could fucking take out your whole fucking family."
Yeah.
He's like, hit on his mom.
Do you know who she is? Do you think
like, yo, dude, you hit on his mom? Like, that's not what I said.
Yeah, right. It's a whole new meaning. We could even use that maybe. What do you think it would be too hacky to say maybe like a hitman came and she did something that was like mother-like she grabbed him by the ear, something like that? She was like, "Get out of here."
That's fucking great. Maybe because you got to establish that too. Like maybe the whole thing, I have to use the thing to say, but like in my head, I can see it now. Like if she's yelling at you, establish that my mom's the kind of person, she's loving, but she doesn't take any guff. Like, it's like there were times where like if I acted up and acted like a fool in public, she would grab me by the ear and escort me out of the room. If there were times where my dad would throw all his work stuff all over the kitchen table. And if he didn't get it up, it was time for her to set the table, she would take a bucket of water and douse it onto the table. So you're like just telling her, like, she didn't take any shit. She would rather have the table, and then she'd go, "Okay, now mop that up," and then sit down to eat. And you would do that. So when she goes into this place, she can literally take the beer, dump it on the guy's thing, grab him by the ear and walk him out, and then clean, and then literally ask for towels, clean off the table, and sit and have lunch there. And the guy's looking in the window like, "What the fuck?" And she's like, you should have been nicer. It's like, no lunch for you. And then sitting there, and then like maybe that could be that's the kind of thing, like she's setting it up. It's like, so you kill him kill him with kindness. Maybe not kill him with kindness, but you could definitely get a hit on you with kindness. Like,
yeah. She just like over mommed him. Even if like I say like a hitman came to the house like late one night or something and broke the window or something, she just like freaked out and made him clean it up or like took him out by the ear or something.
Or you tell that whole story, and at the end, like, she became a legend with bikers. If you ever seen a biker with a tattoo that says "I love mom," that's my mom.
That's my mom. I like that one.
It's not their
That'd
mom.
Be a good tag.
That's my
end.
mom.
That's a great tag at the end. Yeah. That's great. I should write that fucking. That's what. Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm going to record this, so you don't have to write it down. You literally can watch it.
Yeah.
And take the notes off. I think that helps out a lot. But
totally.
Dude, whatever way you tell the story, but at the end, that's the whole thing. It's like you might have never heard of her because you're not a biker or a badass. But the Latin Kings, the Hell's Angels, you name them, they all talk about her to this day.
They all have her tattoo right on their arm.
You ever seen a biker with a tattoo that says "I love mom"? That's my mom. I think right there, people would laugh. You could just, and it's silly, it's stupid, but dude, that's your mom. You can sell merch on that.
Yeah.
You literally can sell merch on the "I love mom" tattoo.
Yeah, that's
on the back says "That's my mom."
Yeah, that's my mom.
Hashtag "That's my mom."
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's fucking great.
Dude, that's you just gotta flesh out the story and the details. It doesn't have to be that long, but you just end it with that. And you're like, fuck, you have like a bit that people get into, and it's not dirty or crazy. You're not going nuts with it because the ending's just silly.
Yeah, like me.
That's what people want. When you get a story, when you tell a story that has some peril or some troubles or tribulations in them, you want to make sure there's that whew at the end. A lot of times people go real deep into like, I had this disease or I did that, whatever, or like it was a near-death experience. And then they try to go for like insane with laughs. They're trying to outdo the sadness with craziness. But sometimes you just want to go with that silliness that makes you laugh after. Like this is not the story I was going to work on today, but I just will quickly just talk about it because I haven't made into a joke yet. But years ago when I broke my heel, and I've told you this before, when the car drove through. I mean, with my car, I hit a telephone pole. The engine block came through. It shattered my heel, broke my ribs. I was on Route 15. I passed out. I don't remember any of this, thank God, to this day. But I woke up in a hospital. They found me. They brought me to the hospital. My family and friends there. My ex-wife, who was my wife at the time, was pregnant with my daughter Ashley. I mean, at this point, if I died, I would have never met her. Like, I could see them all there. That I wake up as they're about to operate on me, and because they weren't sure if my broken ribs they were broken enough where they thought they might puncture my lungs, so they had to go check in on me. And they were like, "Holy shit!" I said to I woke up. I said, "Am I going to live?" It's the first thing I said. And the doctor was like a little shocked. I woke up because I was supposed to be way under, and I kind of woke up and I said, "Am I going to live?" And the doctor said, "I don't know."
Oh, that's like the worst thing to say.
Right, but he didn't know what to say.
He was being honest, though. Yeah.
And I said, I don't. I just was frustrated. I didn't know what to say, and I put my hand out like this, and he went to grab my hand, and I put out my finger, and he grabbed it, and I farted, and I passed out. That's literally what I fucking did in fucking life. I want to make that into a joke because like here's this whole thing with this bill, and I still drank for a while, but I knew I was going to be a comedian. From that day, did it stop me from drinking? No, but it told me that if I get in a lot of trouble, just fucking fart jokes will get you out of any.
Well, I think you could build up because a lot of people talk about how like the day that their life changed was when they realized they hit rock bottom. They knew they're going to quit drinking, but you could flip that around, like you said, and you could say, I knew I was going to start comedy that day,
Definitely wasn't my rock bottom. I've had way worse days.
Yeah.
Like that was like, maybe it might be on the better days. That was one of the last times I drove.
Yeah, right. There you go.
But the story. Okay, do you have anything else you want to talk about with yours?
With that one, no, I think that's about it. I do like what you said though, because I think that'd be so. Even after I do the "I love my mom" part, I could be like, I could say, my mom's here now, so I could be like, you better clean up your table, lady, or whatever. I could just point to it,
You definitely could call it back and do that. You could throw that line in. But I think when you have an ending where they're going to test it out on stages, use it and stuff. But when you find a punchline that is that thing, you don't want to take away from it by adding afterwards. Sometimes a tag after then takes away from it. You want them to remember that if you do that right, that almost can be like you say that's my mom. And then good night, everybody. And they kind of just, you know what I mean? Like you almost close on it, or at least just go into something else. But if you kind of just do this punchline and then like trail off with other things that don't work, because like you already went silly and you kind of just said she was badass, and you could use that earlier if you needed to. But I think they'll be so on board for that story that you wouldn't need to threaten them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you could use it. Maybe it would work. You could try it out. I just, in my head, when we were talking all that stuff, that line right there seems like that's the cap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like if you do that, like that's my mom. And it's like, boom, maybe do it right before. It's like, so it's like to this day when the set's not going well and someone's just talking, all I have to do is pull out my phone, take a picture of the people and show that table to my mom. Not only will she know where you are, but she'll know the fucking state of your table. And she'll be down here before the show's over. And you'll be wearing a fucking typhoon of fucking beverage. Because I don't know if you understand this. Yes, obviously there was no hit ever put on my mom. They got rid of the hit. But she became respected, like a legend in biker gangs across this country, across this world. To this day, they honor her. You ever seen a biker with a tattoo that says, I love mom? That's my mom. Like right there, you could throw it in first and then boom, you have your thing. It's like, but the way if you just deliver it right, boom.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to fucking.
But if you did it the other way around, you'd have that fucking beautiful build. And then you're like, don't want to threat in after. You build up more. The threat, it's like, whatever, like that she knows who she is. The bikers know you fucking should be, the boogeyman, the Slender Man, my mom, man.
Oh, that tattoo thing's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So good. At least we recorded it here. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All right.
Good,
so I was in the Navy. I've tried to talk about this most of my comedy career because it's weird. What really happened is something that is stupid, but also whenever I tell it, it seems like I'm trying to be too silly. And all right, so here's what really, I'll just kind of give the real bare bones of it with background and things like that. This is not me even trying to tell a joke or a story. This is me kind of just letting you know where I was. I did a good tour, if you will, of high school. I did 3 high schools in 5 years. I started off at one, went to another, and then went back to the one I started at. But when I was at the third one, that's when I kind of knew that my mouth was going to get me in a lot of trouble. And I kind of just had no future, whatever. And one day, a Navy recruiter just showed up at the high school. This is at Derby High. And I, without talking to anybody, I was just like, let me get your information. I think that's something I should do. I thought I should I got nothing. Maybe I need to grow up. Maybe I need to do something. I don't know how I'm going to work, but traveling would be cool. Now, you know me. Even then, I was this way. I don't like guns. I don't like that kind of confrontation. And I really, really, especially back then, don't do well with people yelling at me and telling me what to do. Especially back then. I thought this was a way like this. I was almost trying to scared straight myself, I think, in a way. But on a boat. And the reason why I chose the Navy, even though they were there for everybody, was because I thought, well, that's the pussy one. That's what in my head, because I had family that was in the Army. I had family. I did have a cousin who was in the Navy, but I was kind of like, fucking, I don't know. They're on a boat. They're called seamen.
Yeah.
I literally was like, that's out of all of them. You never, Army Rangers, you know what I mean? Like Air Force, you're flying, you're bombing, you're doing that. The Marines are the fucking most badass people there are. Yes, I know Navy has SEALs, but even that doesn't sound cool. A SEAL, I've never feared that animal. You know what I mean? So I'm like, even their toughest are just a fat, stupid animal who bounces balls on their nose in the circus. So it's like, I was like, yeah, I'll go there. And then I went to I got thrown out of that school and went to one more school for my senior year and had my first love. Literally fell in love for the first time and was dating a girl. She was a year younger than me. And forgot all about that I'd have to go to the Navy after school was over. I mean, I knew it was there, but never thought about it until the year was ending. And then she's like, well, you're going to have to go to the Navy. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm going to have to go to I don't want to fucking go to the Navy, but I was already signed up for the fucking Navy. And I've gone to the fucking recruiter and they had me running and they're telling me how badass I'm going to be. And there's other little jerks there and getting ready. And my day's getting closer and closer. And now I'm going to leave the first time anyone I ever loved, whatever. And I thought like, obviously I'm young and I'm in love and I'm stupid. And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to come back from the Navy and marry this girl. She's going to be a senior in high school. Like literally, I think within a week or so I was there, she had cheated on me, but like, didn't have the same fucking exact feelings I had. And I think she also thought that was okay because like I was going to be in the Navy for years. So I wasn't going to come back for a while. Spoiler alert. So I get flown. I don't know how it worked with you when you went to the Marines, but did you get, where was the Marines? That's in North Carolina?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Mine was in Illinois. Great Lakes, Illinois. And so from Springfield, we had to drive up to Springfield, Mass, stay there overnight, and then fly out there. And they flew us all out. And the second we get there, you are just thrown on a bus. You are fucking screamed at right away. They're taking your belongings, throwing kind of like a big old bag, whatever. And then they just take you right away. And I don't remember a ton of deal, but I do remember not sleeping for well over 24 hours because you're in line, you're fucking freezing cold. I fell asleep with my eyes open, standing still a couple times. I remember doing that, eyes open, but being able to fall asleep and to wake up to them shaving my head. Now I know nowadays you're like, what's that for you? I had hair, assholes, and it was weird. I didn't grow a lot, but I had it cut pretty short. But having my head shaved, even if it was a little bit of hair, they still did it just to do it to you. They didn't care what you had on. They were going to shave your head regardless. Running us through all these tests, doing all these fucking things, whatever. And right there, I could tell I didn't want to be there. But I'm like, okay, that's just, I'm sure everybody's scared, but I could tell I just didn't have it made for this. And they get us to like where our barracks, whatever it's going to be. And right away they're yelling at us and stuff. And I shut down mentally.
You're like, I'm not on board for this Navy.
And before
guy.
it even started, yeah, Mikhail, I'm not in this Navy. Like I couldn't do this at all. I was like, I know. And it wasn't a time where I'm like, maybe I have to believe in myself. I'm like, I will never believe in myself. This sucks. Like, I don't want to be here at all. And this is the part where I'm in Illinois. But I'm like, maybe it gets better. I don't know. So like, they're yelling at us. They're making us fold blankets right. I've never been good at folding my blankets. I always get yelled at a ball blanket at the end. To this day, it's like I make my bed when I'm dating someone. When I'm not, it's in a fucking. You know what I mean? Like if I'm not dating right now, look at the other side of this computer. Fucking the comforter's all on a ball because I'm fucking no one's coming over. But like I'm dating somebody, yeah, I'll make a bed, but I'm not gonna do like corners and shit. But anyway, so they want us to do that with these steel wool blankets, and you only go to the bathroom when they tell you to. It's like everything you have to be told to do, and it's like the opposite of what I did in life. And it's like people are yelling, and some people are getting it, and there are people from all over the country, and some of them have fucking bumpkin Forrest Gump like accents where you're just like, what the fuck are you even saying? Or I've been shooting guns since I was 13 years old. Like, I don't know the fuck you just said. Like, and it's just, and they're like, and then there's like literally people that are mad that there's black people there. I'm like, it's 1993. What or 94? What are you mad at? Like, and they're like, I never slept in a room with a black person before. Like, what? Who cares what you're sleeping with? But like, because I
lock your bike. No.
Yeah, we're not allowed to bring bikes. You're fine. You didn't bring your fat girlfriend. They're not gonna fuck her. You're fine. It's like, but it was like weird to see the racism. Not that I'm Mr. Open-minded in the world always, but East Coast kind of teaches you like, listen, we're all just scared here. I was a little shocked. I'm like, they swim? But anyway, so it's like, but so I'm there, I'm doing it. We go to eat, and that's when people start telling us about the saltpeter. You know what that is?
Yeah, I heard of that rumor too. Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned later that's not true, but it's a rumor that goes around. It's kind of like the Richard Gere gerbil in the ass of like boot camps, where everybody's heard about this thing that they put in the food to stop you from having a boner. Now, I don't know why I thought I needed to have a boner. Why would I need a boner? I'm in the Navy. I don't need to have one. But it bothered me that they were putting shit in my food. And I was also so depressed that I didn't want to eat. I wasn't when I was a high school kid, literally, I was my height, like 5'11". And I think when I played football, when I went there, I was probably 180, 185 pounds. When I left the Navy I always say 2 weeks, but it was probably 4 to 5 weeks time. I was close to 150. 145. Like wow. I would not eat, and I was running constantly. I was skin and bones and couldn't get it. Didn't want to handle a gun. Didn't want to know how to put it together, take it apart. Wasn't being belligerent, wasn't saying no, but I was pissing people off because the mentality is, we are a team. So if Oates isn't getting his shit together, we're all not getting our shit together. So you all better get on fucking Oates. And they would kind of be yelling at me. And I would try to use my sense of humor to kind of like win over favor. And when some people would, but you're not just allowed to joke whenever. So like someone would hear me joke and just tell on me for telling a joke. So they would get married because they were afraid or scared or wanted to be kiss ass or whatever. And literally 2.5 weeks in of the running, and I don't remember much. I know we did obstacle courses. I know we learned that. I was so exhausted and so scared and so hating life that literally I have 2 or 3 memories of things. I remember it was the first time I ever in a cafeteria style had to use the thing that you push to get like drinks out of. Like, now it's for everywhere, but like, there's like a little metal thing but you had to put your arm on it because you couldn't touch your hand on it, or if you got any fingerprints on it, you were in trouble and they had to clean it off. So you had so I had to put my arm under it to get milk, and I was just drinking milk in water, and then that was it, and not eating, and that was basically what I was just putting in my body, and barely sleeping, and just not learning and hating and just being, and then missing this girl that I love like fucking crazy, and writing letters, and everyone else was kind of heartbroken or had pictures of people and whatever. One day I could feel myself losing my mind. And one day I was like, I need to get out of here. I don't know what to do. And they were going to have a fire drill. And what they did was there was a courtyard in the middle of if I remember right, I was 6 barracks. There's probably more, but I remember it being a yard where we were in one. So it was set up so it was a square middle, and it was it surrounded it. So to the north and to the south, there were 2 buildings that had barracks. And then to the left and to the east and west, there were 2 each. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you were in the middle of this courtyard. And when they had the fire drill, it had to come out, and you had to take your steel wool blanket and put it over you. I guess it was fire. That's the first I heard fire retardant. And also I got in trouble for laughing at retardant, because they kept going, "You're fire retardant." And they're like, "Oh, or push-ups, whatever." I'm like, "You're right. That's fire retardant." I just kept saying that. And it's is that what they call firemen that have Down syndrome? Fire retardant. I just wouldn't stop. That was just delusional, but also just joking is my only defense mechanism, or therapy, or all that stuff. So we had to all go out, and I waited, and I took my fucking blanket, and I took it as a cape, and I tied it around my neck, and I kind of pulled it up. So almost like Obi-Wan Kenobi at the beginning of Star Wars, where he's covering over his head kind of with a cape as well. And I walked out, and I started going, do, 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 for real. Because I thought if I started making people think I was nuts, they'd have to send me to a psychologist, and then they would say I'm not cleared and I'm okay, and I'm going to go home. I wasn't thinking about the ramifications of dude, you might be put in a loony bin. I wasn't thinking of that. I was just I need any way to get them to get me out. I wasn't even thinking about going home. I just needed a break. And I thought if they put me in a doctor, I could just get a break from being yelled at. I just needed a way to fucking catch my breath, to fucking get out of this constantly being screamed at and told what to do, and pulled away from the only person I thought actually ever loved me besides family in my life. And all this, and not knowing my future, and what am I doing? Then I'm seeing guns. I'm I could get killed. I don't have I have a mouth, and I fucking have ADHD. So I can pop up and go, what the fuck? I'm the guy that dies right in the beginning of the fucking movie, before it was black people. You know what I mean? Like now. So I'm fuck it. So I got the cape out. I said I was putting a force field. People are what are you doing? I'm putting a force field over all of us so we don't get burned. And right away they grabbed me and walked me over to the base's psychologist. And I went in there and I told myself I needed to start crying. And that wasn't hard because I was basically got ready to break down anyway. So I just started thinking of things that made me sad. And I remember, I'm not even kidding, one of the things I thought of was Roseanne Barr naked. And I tried to imagine it, and I started to cry. And it was just fucked up, and I don't know why, but A, tells you how long ago this was, because she was popular at the time. But as that B, I don't know why. I thought that was the grossest thing that I've ever could have seen. And I had tears come my eyes, and it made me feel ill, and I was I looked at that. And they said, "We know you're faking it. We're not idiots. We know what's going on. We know you're faking it. We know you're not crazy. But we can't have you on a fucking ship. So we're going to send you home. And it's not going to be dishonorable. But you're not going to be able to tell anybody you were ever in the fucking Navy. Once you leave, you got to go home. And the way we send you home is you have to go to a holding area and be there until we process you out." And basically what they do is they send you, it's not jail. It's not the brig. But it's fucking close. It's everyone that's being sent home. Honorable and dishonorable people all being sent together to go in this place to wait their time out. And usually takes about a week and a half or so, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes a week. I guess they process it fast enough to get your paperwork, get everything done, and send you the fuck home. And then in the meantime, they make you just go do things. Like we had to go, like we were right on Lake George. So we had to go there and with sticks, clean up the papers that people left outside Lake George until every paper was done. But we were by this little office. We were allowed to use the phone once in a while. So I'm trying to call the girl that I'm in love with. And I could hear like some guy there with her. And I'm like crying and I'm like devastated. It could have just been her brother, but of course I'm just fucking delusional. I'm telling her I'm coming home. She's like, why the fuck are you coming home? I thought this was going to be your thing. You're fucking failing. And I'm like, oh, but I thought you'd be happy. And she's like, no, this is fucking weird. Why are you already running away? It's like, this is, you have to move on with your life. And I'm like, well, it's fucking too late for that. And it's like, so like, I'm devastated, whatever. And like, I'd have to, and then at night we would all sleep in these places, you know, the barracks, I think, but with all people, some of them were suicidal. And once they got them like on enough meds, so they wouldn't kill themselves. They were there, but they're like, some people had to be awake and be like, we had to take charge doing it, but we had to be the ones that kept eyes to make sure no one killed themselves. We had to make sure nobody raped other men in the fucking shower. So I guess the saltpeter thing wasn't true, or people had strong like wool cocks because they were ready to go. And we had to make sure there was no fights, or because we weren't really being there was like one or two sergeants or whatever, but they didn't give a fuck because we didn't matter to them. So they were like, go ahead, beat each other up. We don't give a fuck. And there was like real hard dudes that were being thrown out for like drugs, guys who smuggled in drugs, guys who were trying to escape, guys who were fighting in any way. So there was some fucking bad motherfuckers there. And here I am, just some fucking pussy who fucking tried to pretend he had superpowers and get the fuck out of there. And as we're trying to fucking do all this, it was my turn 2 days before I was going to leave. And by the way, they fly you in on a nice plane. They send you back on a bus when you're discharged in your fucking Navy sweatpants and Navy sweatshirt in fucking August. So it's fucking 1,000,000 degrees. And the thing they gave me fit 180-pound me. It wasn't fitting 145-pound me. It was like draped, my name stenciled on it. But 2 days before, I'm literally in the fucking, I'm watching at night shift, and I hear, as I just woke up, was told my turn, and I heard that showers were on. And I could hear people talking in the showers, and no one's supposed to be showering at night. And I look in, and I could see one guy with his shirt off, and I could hear another guy kind of groaning. And I'm like, I think I know what this is. And I didn't want to see it, so I just grabbed a bar of soap and I threw it around the corner at him, and I yelled, "Break it up!" You heard whoop, like a noise, like something come out of somewhere. I don't know if it was a mouth or a fucking hole. I don't know what the fuck it was. But either way, they went, "Oh, we're just shot. I don't care. Just go to bed. Go to bed. Everybody go to bed." Screaming. And then they came in, and the sergeant was like, who are you yelling at? Nobody. There was showering and breaking. I don't know. Everybody's going to bed. He's like, "Shut up, Oates. Just keep watching." And then a day later, I'm sent on a fucking bus that I took from Great Lakes, Illinois to Bridgeport, Connecticut, and had to ride a sad bus all the way home.
The sad bus.
And literally, when I got home, I still didn't eat for another week, and I would run every day, like 8 miles. And I got down to 135 pounds before I got myself back into shape. And yeah, right. Kind of hung out with the girl again. We tried to date, but she was like a senior in high school, was trying to, it was like trying to live her high school life and didn't want to deal with some guy who was supposed to be gone, now just hanging around and wasn't in school and had no plans, and basically just fucking broke my heart after that. But then obviously life went on just fine. But I don't really have punchlines or something. It's a story that I want to make something. There's something there.
Yeah, there's definitely some really funny elements. I like the Roseanne Barr thing. I think the
main part of the story is just how I got out.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Now, I only thing I've ever written for it is a beginning part. And that just happened recently when I started to think about this. And I kind of like, not written, but I kind of put down. And I think the way I would lead into it, but then I don't know where to tell the story, is like, there's 3 things I'm never supposed to talk about in life. One, I wasn't supposed to mention a retail store I worked at on stage or in podcasts. And I was fired for mentioning it on stage and podcasts. I was never supposed to say the reality show I appeared on was fake. But I pretended my mom was dead on a show. Spoiler alert, my mom's alive. So yeah, I talk about it all the fucking time on albums, on stage, whenever I get, because like, listen, I could have signed every fucking waiver you want. My mom's alive. Like that's the fuck. Anyway, and number
It
three,
doesn't matter.
right? Number three, the U.S. government had told me I'm never supposed to tell you this following story.
Yeah, there you go.
Right, and then but then get into it. Now, I add a lot to it. I don't know if me having my heart broken matters. I don't know if that how I got there matters. I don't know if just the story of being in the Navy is the thing. Because if I'm going to tug on all the heartstrings and really put you where my mind was, there's got to be a punch. There's no punchline. The punchline in that is even me getting out is not like the sex in the shower and breaking it up isn't a good enough punchline. It was just people fucking. You know, I don't even know why I had to break it up. They were going home. They could have one last dance. I don't I don't know.
It's like the one time you decided to do your duty. You were like,
yeah, yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're fucking right. I finally became a soldier.
You finally
when I was outnumbered, 1,000 to 1 by seamen.
And you broke that guy's heart, and then you went home and you got your heart broken. You know what I mean? Maybe you could tie that in.
Or if I'm bringing up the saltpeter, I could finally just yell, "What did you not eat?" No, the saltpeter thing's not true. How many lies are being told to me? When are we going on a boat? I could have like a meltdown at the very end, and that could be it. You could turn the story around. I guess I could say they just realized I couldn't handle it and were going to send me home. I could see the shower thing all break up. I could see all those things happening. I got wet and covered somehow. Maybe they hit me with some fucking semen, if you will. I don't know. And I put a blanket over me. Then a fire drill came out, and I came out going, "What am I, Superman? Am I supposed to save every fucking day? Can I?" And then they see me yelling, and they sent me to a psychologist and just sent me home right away because my greatest achievement was making people think I thought I had superpowers. And I was really just trying to fucking fight off jizz and fucking saltpeter. I don't know.
You could always do the semen joke. Like, I didn't think this is the type of semen you're talking about.
Right. I think that's just almost too easy. It's just like, when I was in that Navy, I saw every kind of semen. I don't know what to do with the story. I don't know which part. I think I have so much stuff. I think I knew if I wanted to tell it, I could just tell it. That'd be a fun anecdote, and I could do something with it, and I can make a crazy ending. Also, I've never gotten in trouble for talking about it. I know I can't. It's not really I can't talk about it. I'm not if I'm trying to get a job or filling something out and it says, "Are you a veteran?" I'm obviously not a veteran, and I can't say I was. I can't put on paperwork that I was ever in the military. That's what the thing is. And I wasn't. To me, I wasn't in the military. I was in the minor league baseballs of military. I never made it to the big leagues. Now, a weird side note, by the way, is then I ended up going to Southern Connecticut State University a year later. And funny thing, I got to go to Southern. The reason why I chose the Navy is there's no way any college will take me. I never went to class. I never passed the class. I had F's forever. They just graduated me because they just didn't want me to be old there. And they're like, we don't want you around. The actual thing was, you're going to be 19. People are going to be 14. We don't need you around them. And I'm like, that makes sense. So they just I was 3 credits shy and they just graduated me. So, but once I got back, my dad's like, well, just try to get in like to a local school. So I just applied for Southern. They're like, yeah. And I'm like, wait, yeah? Like I could have just gone to college the whole time. I could have just gone to school, but I thought I had to fucking go travel the world and be Forrest Gump Jr. But all I had to do is fucking just realize that I'm in a shit state and all I want is money. And it didn't matter. My future didn't matter. You don't have to be smart to go somewhere. You just go anywhere. And then I played rugby, and a year or 2 years later, while I'm playing rugby, a kid shows up on my team. I had told people I was in the Navy. Nobody believed me, really. They're okay, that's a weird story. Maybe he's just an asshole who tells stories. And a guy showed up on my team, and he's like, Oates, And the guy, he was actually ended up being in my wedding. This guy was in the fucking Navy with me, and in my boot camp, my friend Matt Soper, and fucking like, yeah, he did all that shit. He fucking pretended he was nuts and fucking did all that. And we were like, we wanted to kill him because they were fucking, because my buddy ended up being in the Navy and doing his 4 years and traveling and fucking did all the shit he was supposed to do. And he's like, we never thought we were going to get out of boot camp. We couldn't fucking finish a run because of this fucking guy. He wouldn't, we wanted to kill you. But like, and we became best buds. But I don't know how to tie that in either. It's just, I think it's just, I've done interesting things. Maybe not every story you have can be a joke, but like, I think there's something there.
Yeah, I think there's something there too. I like what you said about the college angle. That's really funny. You could just be like, you could base the whole premise in the beginning. You could say I had these shitty grades that there's no way I'd ever be able to go to school. And then you could just be like, they just fucking said yes.
Yeah, maybe I lead with that. I say the thing and I'm like, and I went there because in my mind, everyone told me there's no way you ever get in school. You're a failure, this, and that, whatever. Spoiler alert, I got out of the Navy and we'll get to the story, but like literally, I 3 weeks later, my dad just apply for a school. What's the worst that can happen? And they just took me. I didn't have to do any of the shit. I'm about to tell you, I didn't have to do any of that shit. Fuck America.
You might be able to also make something where your greatest achievement was breaking up the sodomy in the bathroom, and then you didn't realize it, but you became a legend. Like your friend that came back was like, he's the fucking legend of, boot camp or whatever.
Yeah. Or just like, yeah. He's like, yeah, dude, every time two guys would go into a shower, you would just hear break it up. Like it was a fucking slogan. Like people would just write your initials on bars of soap.
Break it up. There's your t-shirt. You go to the pride parade with a break it up shirt. Over
another stick figure and fucking a bar of soap hitting them in the head and it says break it up. Like we didn't work on jokes well. We got merch out of
it. Yeah. You could tie maybe that something into college, like you went to a pride parade or something like that, or you're just
the like college part. I just said to you there, and I've never thought of that. I've never thought of that angle or adding it, but that's obviously like that's a funny part that I did all that for nothing.
Yeah, so that could be the joke, and that could lead you into talking about college stories or whatever. And you could always do the break.
And by the way, you know who was in my my biology class in fucking Southern my first year?
Who?
That girl I was dating, and she wouldn't speak to me, and I was and she was like, thought she was better than me. She was like, don't talk to me, like whatever, like she fucking hated me, and I was playing rugby, and all the girls that played rugby, I had told them that was that girl. So like they all fucking would flock with me and walk in and just like make it seem like I had like 6 bitches just to piss her the fuck off. And they're like, that bitch right there, and just talk shit to her. So it's just like, I didn't need any, like literally I could have just gone to this mediocre school without any of that and been fine. It's like everything I do in life, I have to do the hardest way possible just to learn I could have been mediocre without all that. I'm like mediocre with flair. I'm like Forrest Gump, but there's like, I don't get AIDS. I don't know if that's the punchline. Or I'm like Forrest Gump, but I stopped the AIDS sex.
yeah, exactly. The reverse Forrest Gump.
Forrest Hump.
Break it up. Forrest no hump.
Oh, there's something there. And I'm going to watch this, figure it out. Anyone is watching this, if you have any tags or lines or things like that, let us know. Send it. PatOatesComedy@gmail.com. Email me that one, or put comments under the YouTube. If you have ideas for Brandon or ideas for me, great. But if you're going to be a jerk and mean and go, none of that's funny, well, then you come on the next show. You show me something that's funny, and we'll work on it with you. You poop heads. Be nice. We're working on stuff. Brandon, you got anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I'm doing my show I've been doing currently is called the Over Sharon Show. I do it with my friend Sharon. It's a funny pun. And
yeah, you sent me that clip. That was funny. You guys were like singing and fucking, silly. So it seems like a fun show.
Love? Yep. Yeah, so you can get that at morelawsmoreproblems.com, and there's a link for the Over Sharon Show in the menu, or on YouTube. My YouTube channel is the Brandon Bonanza channel, and I have all kinds of videos and other stuff that I do as well there.
So. Well, let everybody know what Over Sharon's about.
Basically we just talk about, so more recently we're talking, okay, so you know how there's some people that think the earth is flat and then some people who think it's a round ball.
Yeah.
I'm one of these people who don't think it's either of them. I think it's more, there's this way to look at it, people call it simulation theory, where they think we're like in a computer program. I don't think that's correct either, but I think we exist in this realm that's just more mental than we understand. So I think we're kind of like the Rick and Morty episode where they get stuck in that alien reality generator. I think that's the kind of realm that we're in because of, I mean, you watch the show and you'll see why. And I know it sounds really crazy, but this is all say to you, if you think we're on a round spinning ball that goes around the sun, how can we see Venus and Mercury at night when they're supposed to be closer to the sun than us? Just think about that. But we don't really try to we're not like trying to prove anything to anybody. We just talk to basically our audience, and people are open-minded. We just ask a lot of questions, really. We don't really make any claims. And I found that in my journey through like conspiracy and truth and stuff, when you just ask questions about things instead of make claims, it's what received way better. Because when you're making claims, you don't know, you're just saying that you know, and you think you know. So we talk about a lot about that. We talk a lot about psychology. We talk about why people get stuck in one frame or the other and they defend it like it's a religion, you know, because if you go against a flat earth person, they could get very religious. Same thing, obviously, with people of all earth, whatever. That's one thing we're talking about recently, but a lot of stuff we're talking about really is just psychology at the end of the day, you know, and self-healing, stuff like that, and trying to improve yourself. And really the whole focus of is we just believe that the world is perfect the way it is, and there's a reason why it is so fucked up. And if you can realize that, then you don't have to put all the stress on yourself to say that I got to save the world and it's all fucked up. And, you know, maybe it's supposed to be fucked up so we could be here to learn lessons. Could it be? See, another question. So
I
yeah,
just
that's about
watched
what we talk about.
on HBO Max. There's a tremendous 2-part George Carlin documentary, and Judd Apatow did it, and it's fucking incredible, all this stuff. But at the end, when his last special, they're showing him talk about that, and at one point he's saying, because he's doesn't have to believe in God, whatever, and he's just, I believe we're in a I believe we're an electron that's just pulsating, like, and all that kind of shit like that. It's what the world is. But he also says in a thing, and he goes, people keep saying the planet is fucked. Like, the planet's fine. We're a blip.
Yeah.
We're a flea on it. It just wants to shake it off. Like, that's all we are to the planet. The planet's not fucked up. People are fucked. And that's his big push. And you can see some people get upset, but like, it's really incredible on that thing. And HBO's got all his specials out now too. So you can watch this documentary, then go back into the specials. And it's because it's crazy, because how many things that he had so many jokes about things that we're talking about now. Like, still to this day, we're dealing with the abortion stuff. And he had so many things, real things, talking about that and the different evolutions of him. So it was incredible, but just reminded me of that when you talk about the earth and all that kind of stuff, and what he was talking about. So
Yeah, I've seen that. It was a good one.
that specials, I mean,
I haven't seen I've seen the special where he talks about
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
haven't seen, yeah.
So it's good. So perfect. So everybody check out his podcast. This one will be up on the Patreon first. People will see that there. And then eventually I'll throw it over on the POS YouTube as well. Brandon, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you for having me.
If any comics are watching this and want to come on and work out some material and get some ideas and flesh them out, hit me up. Come on. And we'll have a good time. Anyone on the Patreon has any fucking ideas they want to fucking work out or talk to us about this one, please let us know. And I'll send those notes to Brandon so he can use them on his joke. And Brandon, we'll have to have you back on if you actually start working on that and we see where the progression is with the joke. Or worst case, if you do it somewhere and you record it, send it to us if you want to. We can put it up so people can see where the progression's going.
That's not a bad idea.
Right. Cool. Thanks. Boom. And now I got it.